Okay, so today I have some branch trimming that I'd like to talk about, like what to do, what not to do, and just, I guess, how to do it. And yeah, so I'll get right into that. Okay, so here are some of the main, cuts, I guess. So you have removal. Basically, removal, as I talked about yesterday, you still take the 45-degree angle. You cut, I'm going to use my pencil. You cut there, and then you cut there. So then the branch falls down after you cut there and there. And then, since it's just this, you can remove that, but you got to make these first if it's a large branch. And basically, after that, it'll heal over and look like that. Well, it'll grow over and look like that. And then reduction, and I also put thinning. They're basically the same thing. But reduction, you probably wouldn't want to do it on this big of a branch, by the way. But anyway, reduction, make the same cuts, and it's on a bigger branch instead of a smaller branch. You do it on a larger branch, and then this grows basically like that. It'll look like that, and it would probably even out with time. Then you have heading. So basically, it's not exactly like topping. It's not on a large branch, but you basically cut there and kind of select smaller branch that you want to be main, but then it ends up like this, and yeah, it just kind of dumps some nutrients and makes it all wacky a bit. So you should really only do this if it's really necessary, or if you really want your tree to look like this. And just be careful. Don't mess up. Otherwise, this could rot really fast. At least that's what I think. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, thinning, as I said, it's really close to reduction. I think it's just on smaller branches. So basically, you have the same thing here. You have another small twig, and you cut that because this is not necessarily a branch that you want to be main. So you want to reduce it to remove it later. So then after a while, it just looks like that, and the little leader thing that was up here becomes the main. It's like that. So basically, removal removes a branch. Reduction selects a smaller branch to become the leader. Heading, you cut there to make more foliage. And thinning, it's almost the same as a reduction, just with a little bit smaller branches. And it'll look like that. So now, this is improper trimmings. You don't want to do these. I have topping and pollarding. They are different. I put topping is bad, pollarding is better, but they're still bad. So topping, this is the tree before you top it. It looks beautiful. It's a nice tree. It's got full foliage in winter, and it just looks good. Well, you cut all the branches off to where they're bigger. The wound looks really weird, and then it gets these crappy not dumps, but just clumps of really just overgrown stuff, and then you can get water sprouts like this, and they don't look good. So then pollarding, they start off the same pretty much, but I went from here to here. It gets trimmed off all the stuff, so they begin to look like this, and there's the old stuff, if I can draw it right. The wounds, after it starts to grow over, is like that, and they clip off all the old stuff again. So it goes back to looking like this. And you just repeat this until the whole thing is grown over. It has grown over the wound, and it's completely just like a, like that pretty much. Looks like that. So then it's like that. So then the new growth goes on the thing, on the knuckle, I think is what it's called, like that. And they honestly just look weird. But it is better than topping. It's still bad. But it's better than topping in that the rot will not keep rotting. It's compartmentalized, and it's not compartmentalized. It's basically just grown over. So now branches can grow over, and you can basically select what branch you want to start over with. But you're going to have to always trim it and keep it smaller if you really want it to look good again, which is going to take a long time. So that's why these both aren't good. And I wrote this down here. Topping does not trim to control the growth and rot, and the new growth is weak and unregulated. Pollarding, it's trimmed to control growth and rot, and that the new growth is regulated. So basically, pollarding is trimmed. Topping is just left to be. But they both control the size of a tree. Topping is shorter, and it's bad. Pollarding takes longer, and it's more controlled. But that doesn't mean that it's good. There's still rot in there. These are always going to be weaker. Like, basically, when you cut a branch, all the nutrients are still going there. It just needs all these little leaves to amount to the amount of leaves that there were before. They're just way shorter and more clumpy, and they just don't look good. It looks weird, especially in winter. So, I got tree safety and health. Basically, same stuff that I already covered yesterday. Not necessarily the same, but I named it tree safety. And this is all the stuff that I covered yesterday. So, you start with this tree. It's not terrible, but it's also not good. So you got like growth here, there, and there, and there. And I'd put lines in where you'd want to cut it. You want to cut it there, you want to cut it there, but first you cut it there. So then that will be basically a new branch. You cut it there because that's a competing leader. It wants to be a whole new branch. And these dead branches you want off. Hanging branches you also want off. Broken branches you want off. And I don't even know what this is right here. I just drew it. It looks weird. But anyway, let's see if you don't get it trimmed. You just leave it. Well, the tree does get bigger, but this rot is still here. The limbs are still there. The hanging branches are just getting bigger and worse. And there's even a bad union here from your two tops. So, yes, the tree is getting bigger, but it's not healthier. And then it ends up just being, I mean, it doesn't look terrible. This breaks because of the amount of weight on it, because it's just too big. And that is left, and it's kind of got new shoots on it, but those die because it rots away. The rot is seeping down, and this will start rotting. And yes, it does have a good crown, but there's a bad union in there, and that is just not good. So if you do get it trimmed, you trim the branch here, you trim that, and then cut it there. So basically a thinning cut. So you thin that, and you remove that because those are both the same size. And you remove that because that's a dead branch. You remove that because that's a weird, wonky, diseased or something branch. You remove that too. And you remove that, basically thin it out because that's the main one, but it's still not good. So then you leave with, you get that cut. So then you end up looking like this, and your tree is better than it was, but you can get it better. So you want to trim this off, this whole branch, which was up here, this branch. It grows into this. So you want this off just to allow this to grow more bushy and have more foliage. And these will eventually grow too. But you want this trimmed off because it's a lower branch. And it had a bad, like, diseased part here. And it just kind of makes the tree look a little weird because it's got 3 down here. It's not bad. It depends on, like, how you like your tree. But as for now, you get that removed. So then eventually your tree will look like this. Not necessarily it will, but it probably will. And it's got beautiful curves and twists, and you can see the branches structure. It just looks good, and you like your tree. As compared to uncontrolled, like, yes, it's a bigger crown, but it's not a healthier crown. This is a wider crown, and you can trim to have it taller. I just drew this as I thought was best for the tree. So, yeah, that's pretty much this. You can have more foliage down here, depending on how you want it trimmed. But tree safety and health, you need this, and this was up here. Good trimming versus no trimming. So to recap, we covered removal, reduction, heading, and thinning on the first page. Thinning, you choose a smaller branch to become the new one, same as reduction. Removal takes off a smaller branch or just a branch that you don't want, which is probably the best option out of all of them. Heading, you remove part of it, and it's like a small topping, basically. It gets rid of it gets rid of this twig to make more foliage there. And then we covered topping versus pollarding. Pollarding just helps it grow over better, but they're still bad. They both have rot, but pollarding's less rot. But they still aren't good. That's why I put bad, better, but they're still bad. And this is all versus a healthy tree. This is kind of a bad tree here at first, but you trim it and you remove this was crossing here. This was going to cross, so that's why you removed it. And you end up with this beautiful, healthy tree. And you want this. And, this is if you don't get it trimmed. These branches are just still broken. They look weird. And it will lead to rot and decay in your young tree. You don't want that. So that's pretty much it for today. I hope it helped you. And, probably just search it up to find better information too. And because that's what I did. I go to like pictures or just read the articles. They will be really helpful too. This is a quick, short, like, explanation of what you should do, basically. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for today.